My name is Rodrigo Bandeira de Mello. I'm professor of strategy here at Fundação Getúlio Vargas in São Paulo, and we are here to talk to you today about the Iberoamerican Academy of Management, and we are very happy to have Professor Julio de Castro from Instituto de Empresa in Spain, and he's the actual president of the association. Hi, Professor.
Good morning.
Okay, the first question I have to you is, what is the importance of the association, the Iberoamerican Academy, to the Latin American scholars and Latin America institutions?
We have been an association for about 20 years, and the idea is to help both those interested in Iberoamerican issues and Iberoamerican scholars to have a forum so they can talk, they can interact. In particular, in the area of research, we found that there was a significant need because the Latin American scholars, especially young scholars that are not accustomed to dealing with larger associations like the Academy of Management, did not have a place to converse and to kind of help them grow in the process. So the association was created for that.
So is the Ibero Academy of Management linked to the big Academy of Management in the US?
Yes, we are. We are an affiliate, which means that we have a strong relationship with them, even though we're independent. We do activities as part of the Academy of Management annual meetings, but on the other hand, we also have our biannual meetings, we have our own journals, and our activities. Part of our role is also to help Ibero-American scholars and young scholars to be able to move on and to interact at the Academy, which can be complicated, can be, it's a big organization, there are big meetings, and so part of our role is to help with that.
And can you tell us a little bit about the history of the association, how it was created? In the
So the association, actually, that part, it's related to the Academy. It's all scholars that were members of the Academy of Management, Ibero-American scholars. Our first president, for example, Luis Gomez Mejia, is a very well-known scholar, especially in terms of scholarship and young scholars in Latin America that were interested in doing research. We thought that they needed a forum, especially an initial forum where people could help them see, help them develop, and help them understand the world of research, etc. And we have done that in many of our activities. For example, one of the things that we do that's unique is that our journal accepts initially submissions in either English, Spanish, or Portuguese. So they don't have to be threatened originally with the idea that they have to write in English. Obviously, later, once the paper gets accepted, it has to be translated, has to be worked on so that it comes out in English, but it gives somebody who has never done research in a journal, academic journal, the opportunity to express themselves and then through the process maybe get something published in an easier way.
And considering the theme of this 8th conference of the Ibero Academy of Management, which is a world in transition, what do you think is the role of the Latin American companies in this world in transition?
It's perfect that we are in Brazil because it's kind of interesting that the University Getúlio Vargas actually lobbied very hard to get the conference site, and I think it was a good decision because Brazil exemplifies, and Brazilian companies exemplify this world in transition now. And the idea that instead of a bipolar world in which things had to go through things from the developing countries had to go through the US or through Europe, etc. Now companies from the developing world can deal with each other without these intermediaries. And they're doing so, and they're doing great work. And I think as academics, we have a role in terms of understanding that process, in terms of helping companies for emerging markets do it better, work it better, and basically to be able to help our countries get the advantages from this growth. We're started. It's a great, interesting. I think there's great, interesting possibilities in terms of this transition, but we have to make sure that they really serve to help the countries develop, to reduce inequality, etc. So it's a great time, and it's a great time to see it from kind of the epicenter, at least from Latin America, of this process, which is Brazil.
And all the times that we heard about Latin America, it was always about underdevelopment, inequality. And and since we are talking about world in transition, do you think that here in Brazil we have succeeded in reducing a little bit inequality?
It's a start. It's a start, and it's one of the things I'm so happy. I was talking to some of the colleagues at the conference, and I think I said it at the beginning of the conference. The idea that for once the crises are not our fault. Historically, every time there's a global crisis, it's because of Latin America, tequila effect or whatever effect. Well, at least this time it's not us. And more importantly, Latin America is the one showing the world ways to deal with big basic problems. More out of Latin America has moved more people out of poverty in the last 10 years than probably in all of its history. Still a long way to go. And still the issue of inequality. How do you distribute? How do you make sure that even though you move people out of poverty, you still have a vibrant middle class, and you don't create these big gulfs of inequality between the very rich and the poor and the middle class. It's a global issue. Inequality has been rising globally. In the U.S. you have higher inequality. In Europe you have higher inequality. But at least in Latin America we're doing some of the homework to get the people from the bottom lifted up. And then the next step obviously has to be, how do you reduce those gaps?
Okay. And talking about the association, you're finishing your term as president. What were your major achievements as president, and what are the challenges for the new president?
We have the opportunity to explore. We have the opportunity. Now we're a financially sound organization. We have 3 very good legs, which are our biannual meetings, our yearly meetings at the Academy of Management, and our journal. They're all working very well. They're all very in good financial and operational health. And so the question is, now that we have those big, strong legs working, where do we go further? And there are some places that I think we should explore. I think we should go back to our roots about thinking more about young upcoming scholars and what kind of things we can do with them, both students and young academics. We need to think also about similar regions around the world. Asia Pacific, for example, and how in the same way that in business we don't have to go through the US or Europe. Well, it's time also for academicians to talk directly. And so some things, and in the same way that we as countries do lots of direct business with China or India, etc., it might be time to start talking to academicians in China, India, etc., about what kind of things we can do together and so on and so forth. I think it's a great time for the association. We're in a great place operationally, financially. This has been a wonderful conference. The organization has been marvelous. The setting, the people, I couldn't be prouder. This is nothing in terms of conferences that have been in Europe, the United States, etc.
And where do you go from here? Next 2 years going to be?
Next 2 years we go to Santiago, Chile, which actually makes it interesting because we have done in the last years most of the important Latin American countries. We've done Mexico, Peru, Brazil twice, Argentina, and now we go to Chile. After that, we're already on conversations, a couple of places that might be interesting, the question of whether we go back to Spain or whether we do other countries in Latin America that we haven't done yet. And it's exciting. It's kind of interesting to be on this side because there seems to be some bidding among places that want to host the next one. And so I think that speaks very good for the organization that people actually want to host it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Professor Julio.
Thank you. Thank you to FGV. They've done a great work and they've been very gracious hosts.